Hello everyone. The speech I am going to give you now is called Insects and the Future of Food. I've designed it as a simultaneous speech, but rather for intermediate or advanced students, as it is quite long and it has figures and idioms. I will start now. It is almost sunrise at Angkor Wat. You breathe in and get ready to experience one of travel's true once-in-a-lifetime moments. You are about to take your selfie stick out when you notice something in the corner of your eye. A quick look to the ground makes you realize that you are not alone. Instead of that, thousands, or rather millions, of swarming insects seem to be galloping between your feet. It's gross, isn't it? Eating insects is considered as disgusting or even primitive in Western societies. But elsewhere, 4 billion people consume insects on a regular basis. For every human on the planet, there would be the equivalent of 40 tons of insects. 40 tons. This raises an obvious question. Are we ignoring one of the world's greatest untapped resources? And when we know that today more than 4 billion people consume insects for food, isn't it fair to wonder, why not us? This is why the FAO, the Food and Agricultural Organization, believes it is high time we convert the other 4 billion people into insect eaters. After all, insects can't taste any worse than smoked salmon or marmite. And the only reason we do not eat them here seems to be more out of a cultural habit than a genuine worry about their taste. On the one hand, I understand this argument. I do agree that if we think of king prawns, for example, and their big bulging black eyes staring at you from the bottom of your plate, or if you think of slimy oysters, well, they're not necessarily more appealing or more appetizing than a bowl of crickets. Let's not even go near the French and their inexplicable love for garden snails. Secondly, from a nutritional point of view, insects, and especially locusts, contain a large amount of protein that is comparable actually to conventional meat. Insects also have other nutritional advantages. They contain more saturated fat than meat, and they also contain iron. But compared with meat, insects do not only have nutritional advantages, they also consume fewer natural resources than livestock. This means that insects could help us reduce our impact on the environment. If you want to know more about it, there is an easy way to calculate the efficiency of food processing. Let me explain. You just have to figure out how much of the food consumed is transformed into body mass. So, to get 1 kilo of beef, you have to feed a cow 25 kilos of food. Whereas to obtain 1 kilo of locusts, you only need 2 kilograms of food. The difference is significant and would allow us to reduce our carbon footprint. Indeed, insects need very little water, and they produce minimal greenhouse gas emissions. In addition, insects are cold-blooded, which means that they do not use energy to keep warm. In terms of space, today, 70% of cultivated land is used for cattle breeding. However, by 2050, the world population is expected to reach 9 billion people, and the demand for meat could almost double. It is clear that we will have neither the space nor the natural resources to meet this demand. Again, this is where bugs could help us. The reason for this is that insects require much less space to live than larger animals such as cows and sheep. And while cows usually have one or maybe two calves at once, insects tend to produce a lot of eggs, and they reproduce very quickly. A cricket, for example, can have up to 100 eggs each month. They reproduce so quickly, in fact, that countries such as Cambodia are invaded by locusts that can destroy entire crops. So instead of killing them, the Cambodians collect them and sell them to their Thai neighbours, who seem to relish them as delicacies, a bit like caviar for us. Besides, entomophagy, the practice of eating insects, allows for a great diversity of meals. In some countries, people eat a wide variety of insects. They eat dragonflies, caterpillars, locusts, crickets, termites. All in all, humans consume around 2,000 species of insects worldwide. Anyway, you get the idea. Eating insects could help us save the planet. But as we often say, old habits die hard, and it is difficult for people to get over certain preconceived ideas. After all, deliciousness is in the taste buds of the eater, and what some find delectable, others may find disgusting. Once again, look at Marmite. You either love it or hate it. And Marmite has indeed divided opinions for as long as it's been around. Take another example. Muslims don't eat pork, whereas the Germans seem to be eating bratwurst sausages at any time of the day. The same goes for dogs. We in the West are horrified by the fact that some Asian cultures eat dogs. For us, dogs are man's best friend. But in France, we eat horse meat, for example, and rabbits, animals that are only considered as pets in other countries. Now, I'd like to speak from my own experience, as I have tried eating these famous or infamous insects to write this speech. No matter what scientists say, I am not looking forward to repeating this experience, and it is really not what I would like to order in a restaurant. I would rather eat better quality meat less often than eating a cricket pizza, for example. I can hardly imagine ordering fresh locust wings dipped in marinara sauce when I'm out with my friends. I much prefer a juicy beef steak. To conclude, I think it will be difficult to convince Europeans to include insects in their daily diet. I think the best way would be to begin with something basic. For example, grasshopper chips. And then work your way up slowly to a full ladybird pie, maybe? No, on a more serious note, we could start by, for example, baking the cakes we already bake, but using flour made from cricket powder. This would already help us reduce our impact on the environment, and once baked, the cakes don't taste that much different. Another idea could be to strike a balance. We could, for example, reduce our meat consumption without giving it up entirely, while increasing our consumption of insects. Generally speaking, I think our main problem is the way those insects look. It's true to say that their appearance can be fearsome or even repulsive. However, I believe that if people manage to overcome that feeling to eat frogs, oysters and snails, they could quickly come round to the idea of eating insects. Thank you.